Fam, we got another topic, though.
I do.
Because your boy...
If you be quiet, I can start on it, fam.
Well, you're going to talk... Wait. Bloomberg, your boy.
So the Sanders campaign has been speaking out against Bloomberg's run because Bloomberg pretty much bought himself in. I mean, you have to know it's late November now. The primary is coming up in February for the first states and then in March for California. And Bloomberg just jumped in. And Bernie Sanders and his campaign, specifically David Serrata, have been calling out that the reason that Bloomberg is running is actually not to stop Donald Trump, but to stop Bernie Sanders. And I 100% agree with this. I think that the reason they put Bloomberg in is because Biden isn't really polling, like Jonny said, as high as these polls indicate at all. I mean, you have to take into consideration the amount of volunteers Bernie has, the amount of the people in the rallies. You have to take into consideration the amount of money he gets from many, many donors. And all of this combined with the fact that the mainstream media is against him and the corporations are against him signal that they are desperate. They are completely desperate. And Serrata has called this out on multiple occasions, and he said Bloomberg is primarily motivated by a desire to stop Bernie and his working class movement. And if you guys want to read more up on this, he said this in the Burn After Reading newsletter that they send out. And he said, the timing of Bloomberg's announcement lines up with Sanders' rise in the polls, which is true, and a well-reported meeting between the media mogul and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. So Bloomberg and Bezos met together. Imagine that. That's like Darth Vader and the Sith Lord meeting together and trying to take over the galaxy. I mean, that is literally what is happening. They're awful. They're billionaires, and they have so much power between them. And they're also friends with Bill Gates and also with Disney's Bob Iger. And this run, he says, is reminiscent of his decision in 2016 to float a run in order to take down the Sanders campaign. So this has been happening over and over and over again. And what we have to understand here is that the reason they're doing this, even though it's so maddening, it's so, like, it makes you so angry, is because Bernie is rising. Yeah. And they really don't know what to do. They're freaking out. Warren is actually sinking. And I think not only did Tulsi do some damage for the little bit of damage she did and starting to call her out, but Bernie Sanders supporters and like all of us who outside of the campaign have been pushing the vast differences between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And I think it's hit to a point where Elizabeth Warren also did a lot of damage to herself by flip-flopping on Medicare for all, by, saying that she's cool with billionaires, and by just not standing for anything. Yeah. Like, when you don't stand for anything, it's worse, because if she was at least standing to be a hardcore centrist, that would signal the centrists, okay, that's fine, we'll support her. But if she's like sort of dipping her toe in the progressive and then dipping her toe back into being a centrist, she's not standing for anything. And so they really don't have a candidate there. Buttigieg, he's sort of keeping some high-end polls in Iowa, but then there's that whole lie that he made regarding the black endorsements, which is disgusting. And then, of course, now that he was just annihilated and eviscerated by Tulsi Gabbard, it's not going to go well for him. So they really don't have anybody.
And the media spin was kind of cool on that, too,
yeah.
wasn't it, Finn?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to make it look like Buttigieg really beat up on Tulsi when he got, he lost his shit, he got aggravated. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And there are, listen, I think it's coming out. You see Warren even more. She's being exposed not just on her domestic policies where people are going, wait a second, her foreign policy is awful. So as that's coming out, you know what I'm saying? I think there's a unity which needs to take place between three campaigns.
Right.
I think the Bernie people need to stop supporting Elizabeth Warren second.
100%.
And have to somewhat support Tulsi Gabbard and need a little bit of Andrew Yang, because the Andrew Yang people can come over. They are open-minded. They are pretty good. So you don't want to necessarily attack them. You can attack their ideas, but let's be really civil about it, whatnot. Let's not demonize these people, because these are the people that are going to come over and really help Bernie get over the
Absolutely.
top.
And I actually was with a bunch of burners yesterday, and the majority of them, there was a Yang Gang. I was at a parade yesterday, and there was a Yang Gang sign over there, and some of the burners went over to talk to them, and they liked the Bernie van, because we had a Bernie van with a rotating Bernie head. And they were like talking to each other, and the burners were like, oh, and this is on the ground grassroots burners. They were like, oh, we like the Yang Gang. They're not bad. And, I don't really agree with Andrew Yang's policies necessarily, but hey, I think they could be Bernie votes later on. And that's the mindset we need to have. And I think on Twitter, you see a lot of like haters like, oh, Tulsi Gabbard needs to drop out and endorse Bernie. Like Michael Brooks went on and said like, oh yeah, well, good job, Tulsi. Now she needs to drop out. And it's like, no, dude, that's not how you win over votes. That's disingenuous. You don't need to vote shame people. That's a progressive ally. And I think she has every right to run. And I even say that about Warren. She has every right to run, but I don't think she's an ally. And there's a difference. And I think we can get the Yang people and even the Marianne people, once Marianne decides to call it quits, to get those votes. Yeah. How do you plan on getting those votes if you're going to vilify and, just insult the supporters? And I understand like there's a lot at stake here in this election, but right now in the primary we need to play our cards right. And I posted the video the day before yesterday where I was pretty much talking about the same thing. Like, Warren is a threat. We need to unite the Yangs, the Mariannes, and the Tulsis and the burners in a way to be prepared to back the candidate that has the largest chance of winning and getting ourselves in there, maybe getting Yang, Marianne, Tulsi into the cabinet positions, into some of these things, building a progressive coalition. We cannot win only with Bernie by himself. He's not going to be able to do this. He's said it time and time again. And Elizabeth Warren getting in there is my fear. Elizabeth Warren is not a progressive, and that's how they'll keep a hold of power and consolidate that power. And it's already happening. We're seeing, the some of these people in the campaign that are just really questionable, like Sarsour. And I'm not even going to go deep on that, but I'm just going to say like it's something that we need to all pay attention to.
Yeah, and before Johnny gets a little something come up for the Andrew Yang, I want to think who's more nauseous, Michael Brooks or Bill Maher? Because they're both vote shaming idiots.
I have to say Bill Maher.
I mean, I don't know. Michael Brooks is pretty bad right now. He's really, really pissing me off. You'd
be surprised at the countless progressives that like him, and I don't get it.
I don't know why.